Welcome to CMN103, Introduction to Creative Industries. My name is Gail Crimmins. Today we are super lucky to have Dr. Andy Ward join us in conversation. He's going to be talking about creativity, music, the creative process, also talking about the music courses that we offer here at USC. So Andy, if you don't already know him, is a producer, songwriter, musician. He's worked with major international record labels, and we are very lucky to have him on our staff in the School of Creative Industries. So welcome, and thank you for coming along, Andy.
Thanks very much for having me.
Okay, you're welcome.
I'm very pleased to be here.
And we might delve into a little bit more of his practice in a moment, but first of all, I was just wondering if you could tell us, Andy, about the music courses and the major that we offer currently at USC within the BCI, the Bachelor of Creative Industries.
Of course, yes. So there is an 8-course music major within the Bachelor of Creative Industries. We have, and I'm sure you'll get to know this as you kind of are more and more introduced into the, happenings and structures of the university. But we offer 2 introductory subjects, 100 coded courses, 4 200 coded courses are kind of intermediate, and then 2 industry-facing, or what are called graduate level 300 coded courses. So there's 8 across the board there, and we're placed very uniquely as a discipline. There isn't a music discipline at a university anywhere in Australia with the age demographic, meaning the younger side of practitioners and award-winning industry practitioners who are putting it together for industry.
Okay. So could you explain who the team consists of? Absolutely.
So as it's at the moment, there's myself and my experience as a songwriter and performance. There's
and you work with these international labels.
So
who are you working with, and what do you do?
For a few years before entering academia, I worked as a recording artist for Sony Music Australia, and then as I got bolder and fatter and less aesthetically pleasing, there's that aesthetics thing again, I decided, oh God, I don't really want to take my parents' advice, but I might look at this real job, whatever that means. So I entered academia, and since then I'm kind of more behind the scenes rather than on the stage. So I work as a record producer and a songwriter for a number of artists. I think creativity is not about creating a holotype or a perfect platonic ideal or something. It's about experiencing the best version of practice that you can engage in as an individual. So I mean, people.
And should it not change anyway?
Of course it should. Absolutely. This assertion that there's a perfect version of singing would then negate the idea that the only musician to ever win a Nobel Prize is Bob Dylan, who, quite frankly, according to most opera singers, can't sing. So that's an absurdity.
Yeah.
It's very disenfranchising and disempowering, particularly to people who are just entering their adult existence, or they're even just their kind of foray into creative practice.
So you're suggesting that everyone has a capacity for creativity.
Absolutely.
And in order, therefore, to enhance our creativity and our creative practice, we need to surround ourselves in opportunities to engage creative practice. We need to be practicing it.
Yes.
We need to be listening to it, watching it, thinking about it, reading it, listening to it. All of those things we need to be surrounding ourselves, engaging with. So you're talking about the passivity as well, so you can actually receive creative impulse and ideas and even training to a certain extent by immersing ourselves in a creative environment.
Absolutely, we do it. Music and sound is a wonderful. Obviously it's my field, so that's what I'm going to yammer on about.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful example of that, because most people who've grown up in a Western aesthetic have this idea of music being in tune or not, and they can kind of listen to music and go, oh, well, that's in tune, or that doesn't sound good. But that system of tuning was devised only 300 years ago. So for only 300 years have we been culturally programmed to know what in tune is, and then we obviously say, oh well, talent is all dependent on whether or not you can sing in tune.
As a creative practitioner, you reflect on your practice.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
have a very clear understanding of who your audience is and who you're doing it, or what you're doing it for. You practice your skill or your talent or your craft, whatever you want to call it, and you're looking to apply it, but you're constantly reflecting back, aren't you, on is it
Absolutely, yes.
where is it going, what's it doing, whose needs or demands is it meeting, is it as engaging or whatever it needs to be as it could be. So it's a constant cycle of practice and refinement.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess there's another kind of misnomer about this idea of technique. You see it in kind of classical paradigms of classical dance, or in music, or in you have an ungodly amount of theorists in theatre and performance. Your Stanislavskis and your Chekhovs and your goodness gracious, right? But there's this kind of idea that technique must be X, Y, and Z. But that then kind of negates or nullifies this idea that technique is actually an evolution of things. And so what people count as mistakes 50 years later down the track will count as practice. There's is
innovation.
Innovation, absolutely.
Yeah,
so there is a practitioner, the Carter family, who are kind of country music royalty in the United States.
Yeah, I'm gonna Jackson.
Yeah, great. Yeah. They were some of the first ever recorded popular country musicians, and Mama Mabel, who was a member of Auntie Mabel, basically Mama Mabel, who's June Carter's aunt. June Carter, again. Let's not do that.
Yeah, we're going to we're going to define her by who she was
who's
partnered.
married to, which is
so we're not going to
horrific. Do that. We're definitely not going to do that.
Because she also was an entity, an amazing performer of herself.
Brilliant, actually far beyond anyone she was ever involved with. So within the Carter family, Mama Mabel invented, the original terminology was called old-timey music, prior to country music. And these were people who, and country music comes from an extraordinary place in the United States, specifically kind of the Appalachian Mountains, and is a conglomeration of a number of European but also West African, musical influences. But Mama Mabel invented what's known as the Mama Mabel scratch. Which is a particular way of finger-picking the guitar, which at the time was considered this kind of hillbilly, mountain folk, absurd way to play the guitar. And now it's probably the most prevalent technique of guitar playing on the planet.
Wow.
And it's just a fantastic example of someone who sat with no formal technical training,
Beautiful.
informed themselves about the best way to interact, to make the creative thing, the artifact that they wanted to make. And that then informed the rest of creative practice after it.
Wow, in fact, that's an amazing example, isn't it? Somebody who was attuned to herself, listening, engaging, attuned to her audience. How are they responding to it? So, receiving various cultural traditions and amalgamating them into this practice that was immediate, was arresting for the audience, was obviously satisfying to her, and then impacted the way that music was presented and created thereafter. So I think we might start to wrap up today.
Sure.
But what I'm going to take from that is that there are so many impacts and influences upon the creative artist. There are cultural inheritances, if you like. So we're engaged, and we it might be a visual, it might be an aural kind of communication, but we're surrounded by creative practice. We have to take that, we have to think of who our audiences are. We have to think of what is unique to ourselves and what gives us a sense of creative flow or passion or engagement. And it's a combination, if you like, of converting with oneself, but with the idea of the audience or the function of that in mind. And we might use that as a loose construction of what creativity is and how it can be applied in this course.
Sounds extraordinarily comprehensive.
Okay, so we might leave it there for today, but thank you very much for joining us, and thank you so much, Andy, for coming in today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
And it's just so exciting to have these new music practitioners and academics on our staff. One thing that I would say is that even if you're not taking the major, or even a minor, so you can take 4 courses in music and take that as a minor. Obviously you can take the 8 courses major. In time we're also going to have the full bachelor program, but you can also take some level 100s as electives.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you come join us and engage with some music.
Very good idea.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Cheers.